Guys, so excited, like literally so excited for this week's guest, a first-time guest to the podcast. Welcome her to the family tree. She's an Emmy-winning sports anchor for WKRN News Channel 2. She is a Wazoo grad. Shout out Washington State, which as a Mizzou grad, I'm a fan of schools who throw unnecessary Z's into their school's nickname. She is the host of the Press Pass podcast. You can find her on both Instagram and Twitter at Kayla Anderson TV. And that it's funny because that's her name. She is Kayla Anderson. Kayla, thanks so much for joining us. We appreciate it.
Hey guys, thanks for having me on. I know any type of like ZZ adage to a college is money, right?
Right. Like I just, why don't more schools do that? To be honest,
I agree.
Like Jackson Ole Miss fan, like why isn't it Mississippi? You know, like
oh, I'm okay with that. I think that would fit too. You know,
I like that.
Just a cool nickname. That's
I'm
what
open to it. I'll have to propose it to somebody on the board over there or something.
Well, Kayla, thanks so much for joining us. Now, as you are an official member of the media, so I think I need to ask you this up front. Jack and I always like to ask our toughest questions right off the bat, right up front, and then we can have fun like later on in the interview. But as a member of the media, quote unquote, how in the world did the Tennessee Titans win without Derrick Henry? Because I'm pretty sure that man is their entire team, is he not? That's what the media told me the last 6 days. So I'm confused.
Right. And you know what? It's funny because the national media would probably say that Derrick Henry is the one that holds this entire Titans team up.
Right.
And I wouldn't completely disagree with that, but covering the Titans for the past 5 seasons and then covering them under head coach Mike Vrabel, you see a team that is just really gritty and grimy, and you see a team that likes to be the underdog in every situation. And so when they lost Derrick Henry, while I think we all were thinking they would probably go to LA, maybe give it a fight, but that's a really good Los Angeles Rams team that was clicking on all cylinders. So I think a lot of us thought they weren't probably going to be able to go and pull off the Sunday night win without Derrick Henry, just because he's done so much for this team. However, we can never count out a Mike Vrabel team because this team is resilient. They've said it time and time again after these games that they've won. Now they've won 5 straight. And the defense really came up clutch in a time that maybe the offense is still trying to find its way without Derrick Henry was doing enough. But the defense is really what allowed the Titans to win this game, setting the tone, in my opinion, from the start.
If you had to pick one, would you say they're more gritty or more grimy?
Man, I like both. Can we go with both?
I mean, we can't go with both, but if you had to choose one, are they line more along the lines like of grittier or like grimier?
I think grittier. And just because grimy, I feel like it looks dirty when they do it. I feel like when they do it right now, at least, they're just grinding it out and it just looks like a gritty group. And especially when you see guys like Kevin Byard, like he doesn't make it look ugly. He actually kind of makes it look easy at times.
Yeah, right.
But you know, he is a gritty man. Like that guy is not named the mayor of Murfreesboro for no reason, right?
Right. And I'll say, I like grimy is not, like, and I agree with you. I agree with your assessment 100% because grimy to me, like, reminds me of like the things in like the concrete crevices in the tiles of your shower.
Yeah.
But like no one wants
bad
to deal.
connotation.
No one wants to deal with those with that, right? No one wants to deal with that grime, and no one wants to deal with the Titans right now. So it's like I do think you're right with that. They are both gritty and grimy, but I do appreciate your assessment that they are grittier than grimy.
I do not like cleaning that out of my shower. I'll tell you.
Not a grout fan. We'll label you as not a grout
write
fan.
that
I don't
down,
think anyone
Jack.
is that.
We'll remember that for next time.
Kayla, you just mentioned the mayor of Murfreesboro. There's so many big names on this Titans roster, and a bunch of them have nicknames. You've got King Henry, you've got Adrian Peterson, whether you want to call him AP or All Day, the mayor of Murfreesboro, obviously. Is it true that you gave AJ Brown a nickname, Yak Daddy? Are you going to stand by that?
Yeah. Is this?
Because if you are, we'll roll with it.
Our sources,
Okay.
we have sources on the ground that claim that.
Yeah, and I kind of know who it is. Perhaps I know who it is. And I will just say this. I am one to not hold back. Like, I don't really care who you are. I don't care how big of a name you are. Like, I've been covering athletes since I was 20 years old. So in my opinion, like, I'm just going to say what's on my mind.
Yeah.
And at times I'm a little weird, but you know, I would say that that was justified at the time too, especially at the time when we asked him, well, I straight up asked him, you know, about being the yak daddy, because at the time he was really, you know, going for those yards after catch, and he is right now as well, because that's what he's kind of known for. But I don't know. I mean, I think it kind of flows. There's a
I love it.
swag to it, like yak daddy, like Yankee dad, you know, like I like it.
I'm with you, Kayla. I think that's gonna stick. We're gonna blow that up. Okay, we're gonna make sure everyone knows it came from Kayla Anderson.
I like that. Okay.
Yeah, the yak daddy.
The yak daddy, AJ Brown.
The now, Kayla, speaking of nicknames, are you an AP or an AD girl?
Oh,
okay.
Such a debate.
Yeah. So AP is like, I get it. It's his initials. It's like if someone calls me KA.
Sure.
However, like AD, that's just what he's known for. I mean, to me, that's what I always knew him as. It's really weird as a media member right now, though, because I do have nicknames for a lot of the guys. Like I call Jeff like Big Jeff, and I just cannot call Adrian Peterson AD or AP right now. I guess I got to just to get to know him a little bit better, because right now I guess I just have to label him as Adrian, but that just sounds bizarre too.
Right.
So if I'm going to go with anything eventually, I feel like it's going to be AD.
Okay.
Yeah. You got maybe give it 3 or 4 games, and then maybe throw a feeler out there, see how he responds.
I will. And I might create my own, to tell you the truth. So,
hey, you're 1 for 1 in our books.
yeah.
I do feel like, yeah, we like now, like him being now in Nashville, we do have to test the limits of as to whether or not he is all day. Like, because we don't know, like in this later stage of his career, he might just be like some of the day, or like, you know, part of the day, in which case that's a totally different nickname. So I think we do need to kind of test that out a little bit.
I agree.
Now, Kayla, with you mentioned Big Jeff. I mean, is this guy like, I don't know. I feel like Sunday night he out Aaron Donald.
Yeah.
Is this what was Sunday night like his coming out party? Is this guy like, was that him putting the world on notice? Like, oh, hey guys, my name's Big Jeff, and I'm here to stay.
Seriously, isn't it kind of crazy to think when the Titans drafted him? I mean, I'll be the first to admit, guys, I was like, what in the hell are they doing drafting a guy who's injured in the first round, which we really didn't know like how he was going to recover. And I'll be the first to say, like, I made a giant mistake in even thinking that, because Big Jeff has been absolutely incredible for this Titans team. He even played that first season in the playoffs. So like the bounce back from him from that injury was incredible as it is. And then we've just continued to see the growth in this guy, not only on the field, but off the field as well. He is a huge leader. Like, I enjoy talking to him each and every week because he brings the passion, and you can just tell like this guy wants to go out there and get it every single Sunday. And I think you're right. I think he knew that it was going to be Sunday night football. There was no Derrick Henry. People were doubting this Titans team. I think he kind of knew the defense had to step up in this game to be able to get the win. And he took it upon himself, with obviously the help from the other guys up front as well, to really say, Big Jeff has arrived. And he certainly did, with the hat trick, the 3 sacks. Again, he caught more headlines than Aaron Donald in that one. And I think just his passion for the game and his love for that team, it just kind of is enhanced throughout that whole building. And Mike Vrabel said it this week. He said, without Jeffrey Simmons, like, we would be devastated.
Yeah. Well, and I think it's also, you need to add to the point of not just the injury narrative, but the fact that this is a guy who has kind of bounced back. He's taken his second chance when it comes to, you know, in college. Like, the only thing we knew about Jeffrey Simmons was the videotape of, you know, him hitting a woman and everything. And I feel like since he's arrived in Nashville, like you haven't seen any of that. You haven't seen any. If anything, he's taking on that role of a leader. And second chances are hard to come by for anyone's standards. And the fact that he has kind of taken his and ran with it is, I think, another testament to the whole Jeff Simmons story.
It is. And you guys know, I mean, you see all these athletes, it's like some of them will make mistakes and never recover, or some of them will make mistakes and keep making mistakes. But there are those that will make mistakes like we all do. Like none of us are perfect. They're obviously in the limelight a lot more. But for Big Jeff, like he made those mistakes and he clearly did learn from them, because the minute that he stepped into Nashville and the minute he became a Tennessee Titan, I think he took it upon himself to prove all those people wrong. And so far he's done just that and much more, in my opinion. And he's still really young, you guys. Like he's got some good years ahead of him, which is scary to think, because man, that guy is an absolute beast.
Yeah. He earned the nickname Big for sure.
Yeah,
I love calling him Big Jeff, man. That's like my favorite. I can't just call him Jeffrey Simmons. Like, no way.
Kayla, I have to admit, I was also skeptical on draft night when they took Jeff Simmons. Well, that was mainly because he went to Mississippi State.
Yeah, you're
guys like
guy. Yeah.
With guys like Jeffrey Simmons and Danico Autry, I'm kind of warming up to the dogs. I'm not gonna lie.
I know, right?
But who would have thought this Titans defense would be right now tied for 6th in the NFL in sacks? It doesn't seem like these guys in the front four really care who does it. They're all putting pressure on the quarterback. They're hitting the quarterback. Harold Landry's having a career year. What is it about this group of D linemen that you think has finally clicked this season?
Yeah, I think that is just something that the Titans have wanted for so long. It was always like, how can we get to the quarterback? How can we get guys that know how to sack the quarterback? I mean, they tried it last year. Clowney didn't work. Vic Beasley didn't work. Let's admit that was a complete disaster. So you go out and you get a guy like Danico Autry that you've clearly seen a lot of, because with his time with the Colts, you take a little bit of a chance on Bud Dupree, just for the fact that he was also coming off that ACL surgery, and it took him a bit to to get things rolling. But you knew what you had in Harold Landry for the most part. You knew what you had in Big Jeff. It was just getting the right pieces in place. And I truly do think that they've finally gotten the right pieces in place. I think, honestly, the biggest difference maker has been Autry. I really do, because he's allowed everybody else to do their thing as well. And it's just every single game, this front four is getting better. And Bud Dupree admitted that he pretty much came back too soon. And that's why we didn't see a lot out of him in the beginning. And I think he's finally starting to kind of come into his own with coming off the knee injury and feeling confident out there again. So I think it's only going to get better, to honestly tell you the truth. Harold Landry, he's another man child. I mean, this guy he hates talking with the media, I'll tell you that much. But he loves just going out there and playing the game of football. I mean, you talk about a guy that eats, breathes, and sleeps football. It's Harold Landry, and it's showing 9 sacks right now on the season. Incredible.
We had Mike Herndon on last week, and he also said that, this isn't just a one-off, little 3-4 game stretch from this defense. Yeah. He expects them to get better and better as the year goes along. And, they're doing all of this without arguably the best cornerback on the roster in Christian Fulton. He's been on IR. He'll come back soon, hopefully. But the secondary has been able to hold it down. It really kind of shows you that symbiotic relationship between the pass rush and the back end of the defense, where if they're bringing pressure, it makes it easier on the secondary. Now we see Kevin Byard second in the NFL in interceptions. What's impressed you the most about this secondary this season?
First of all, let's put some respect on Kevin Byard's name,
right.
National media.
Yeah.
If I hear Kevin Byard one more time. I mean, come on, people. I don't get paid 6 figures, but I say his name right.
Right.
Like, get his name right.
Tell him, Kayla. Tell him, Kayla. Yes.
Right? No, but I mean, this is what I do have to say about this secondary. Talk about the next man up mentality that Mike Vrabel preaches about this year. I mean, it really is something that this team has taken and like rolled with, because that has been the case, especially when it comes to the secondary, because every single week you feel like there's a new guy in there. And for the most part, they're doing what they need to do. I mean, look at what Chris Jackson did on Sunday.
Yeah.
For the most part, he stepped up and did what he needed to do. And Mike Vrabel even said he was hurting. Like, that guy's not completely healthy either. Christian Fulton, I will say this, I think he's coming back soon, maybe even this week, which would be really encouraging. But thank goodness for Kevin Byard, because that guy is the epitome of like everything that the National Football League should be. I mean, he had a bad year last year, and I don't think it was his fault. I think the whole defense was a mess last year, and individual play all around the board was down. But Kevin Byard, he worked his butt off in the offseason. I went out to a couple of his offseason workouts. You can just tell how much that guy wanted to prove everybody wrong for having one bad season. And he's come back and done that. And he's really done a lot for the secondary, just in terms of keeping everybody kind of focused, even though it's always a guy going down every single week. And then you got to give credit to those guys that have come up and called up, and they've done as much as they can, I guess, when it comes to that. But it does all start with what kind of pressure they're getting up front. It's given the guys in the back end a little easier time. But hopefully when you get that secondary healthy, I think both sides, or both the front and the back, clicking, man, it could be dangerous.
I love that you mentioned Chris Jackson too, because for a 7th round draft pick, I mean, he's had his bad moments, don't get me wrong.
Mm-hmm.
But for a 7th round draft pick, he is worth his weight in gold right now for this team, isn't he?
Right. And you look at that draft class. I mean, he's probably the one that's having the most consistent time right now.
Stay on the field.
A 7th round pick, playing as much as he's played and has stayed on this team. I mean, that's pretty incredible, and not from some big major college. So you got to give this guy a lot of credit for just grinding every week in and week out, doing what he's supposed to do when he's called to do that. Just like I said, though, I mean, once this secondary hopefully gets healthy, I'm excited to see what it can do. And hey, Jackrabbit hasn't been perfect, but I will say he's not been horrible, right? I mean, he's had his down games, but I think it's good having a guy like him again, having that leadership, because I know a lot of the guys have gone to him and picked his brain and asked for, advice. And I think that's beneficial too.
Yeah, I agree. I think people are honing in on Jackrabbit when they watch the games, because I think they expected him to come in and kind of be flawless and be like one of the best pieces of the secondary. And while he hasn't been that, like he has made some good plays. He's made a lot of mistakes as well, but I feel like the bar for him was so much higher than other guys. But I think you bring up a good point, is he was brought in for more than just his play on the field, more of like a mentor or like a teacher, just as much as anything for this secondary. Because everyone on the secondary is like, I don't even know if like half of them can drink. They're so young.
I know, right? And I mean, we didn't even mention Caleb Farley, because he's done.
Right.
But I mean, if Caleb Farley would have been healthy this season, that's another guy that is a rookie who's young, who's just getting started, and hopefully he'll come back healthy and be able to play for the Titans, and they won't look back at that pick and say, what were we doing? But yeah, it's a really young secondary, really not far removed, guys, from, you remember the secondary a few years ago with like Logan Ryan and Malcolm Butler? And I mean, that was like my group.
Jonathan Joseph.
Oh God.
Oh, wait, too soon. Too soon.
Oh, boy.
I'm sorry. I can't. He's burned himself into my brain forever. I'll never forget.
I know.
Well, that's just because he's always burned.
JJ, right? I mean, shoot. I feel bad that he had to go out like that here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Do you think Deion Sanders knows Kevin Byard's name yet, or is he still just a fan to him?
Bro, I mean, Deion Sanders, look, that whole thing was so funny, by the way. Like, I kind of like that stuff. It gets me going. Like, I enjoy the back and forth. I would hope Deion Sanders by now knows Kevin Byard's name. Kevin Byard's name. Maybe I'll actually tweet at him after Kevin Byard has another interception and see if he remembers who he is.
Right. Yeah. I think you should.
Because that was pretty funny though, that whole back and forth. Like, talk about always there's something going on Twitter, right? There's always something.
Well, all the more reason to follow at Kayla Anderson TV on Twitter. Kayla, this Jack and I kind of went into this last 4-game stretch saying that if the Titans could somehow get out of this thing 2-2, that's a win. That's a win for where they're at in the season, the way the season started. I don't know if you know this or not. This team lost to the Jets.
Don't bring that up.
I'm sorry. It makes me laugh so hard every time I bring it up now.
Yeah.
Like it's like I almost like feel like it's not real. I almost have to keep saying it just to remind myself that actually happened. But now, so they go through the stretch 4-0. Like I'm sitting here thinking like, okay, if you go through the gauntlet in the middle of the season before your bye week even, and you go 4-0 against the 4 toughest teams on your schedule, like my goodness, it's gotta be, you're skating easy the rest of the season. Now, if you look at the schedule, though, it's not exactly that. You got the Saints this week. You go to New England. You go to Pittsburgh later on in the year when it's freezing cold without Derrick Henry. To you, like you looking ahead, what is the biggest test moving forward for this team? Like the last, probably the tallest hurdle, I'd say.
That's a great question because I do agree with you. And I also said if they can get through this patch and at least win 2 of those games, that's really setting them up well. And then they go out there and win 5 straight. And we're all like, whoa. And props to them for putting themselves in that position, also not knowing that they would lose their biggest star. Because now they're really looking at that and being like, pat on the back here. But moving forward, I think the Saints, you can always look at this Saints team, and while they're down this year, obviously they don't have Jameis Winston in at quarterback with his injury, but their defense is still good, and you can't underestimate the Saints at any point because Sean Payton does a really good job of having his team prepared. So I look at the Saints as a possible, not trap game. I don't like to use that word, but a game that they need to really come out from the start and set the tone. And then I also do look at New England on the road as a challenge just for the fact that it's Bill Belichick, and Bill Belichick knows Mike Vrabel and the way Mike Vrabel prepares his teams well. And I'd say the Patriots have gotten better. I mean, I don't think that they look awful right now, right? Mac Jones is coming into his own. So I really look at that, and Steelers are always going to be the Steelers too. But I kind of look at that New England game as really intriguing, and one that I know the Titans will want to win, but could be a challenge, especially at New England.
I like that game a whole lot more like a month ago than I do right now.
I think they've won 3 in a row. Mac Jones is improving, as all rookie quarterbacks do throughout their rookie year. But
whereas Kayla likes
they're no walk
Yak Jones.
Yak Jones.
Right.
Yak Jones. Dad bod.
So this week, it's kind of a Trevor Siemian revenge game with the Saints. But last week, it could have been potentially a Josh Reynolds revenge game. He was a healthy scratch against his former team, is cut today. The Cards health was an issue with Reynolds since he arrived. And with a really competitive wide receiver room, there just wasn't room. He requested to be released today. What do you make of Josh Reynolds' short tenure in Tennessee?
Yeah, it was a weird situation, and I have nothing against Josh Reynolds. Like, I wish the guy the very best. I truly do. He was different, though. I just don't feel like he fit this team, guys. Like, he's kind of quiet. He kind of always was kind of doing his own thing. He was always last of all the receivers in drills. Like, it just didn't come across to me that he really enjoyed being here and that he really felt a part of this team. I don't think he felt like he was a part of this team at all. And whether that be Mike Vrabel not allowing him to feel like a part of the team or him just kind of allowing himself to be an outcast, I just don't think he fit here. And it was apparent when he was a healthy scratch so many times in games. And I think they had an idea for him when they brought him in, but then, you get Julio Jones, and then they saw other guys really step up, like Nick Westbrook-Akina, Chester Rogers. I mean, there are so many guys in that wide receivers room that have been pretty much called to the plate and have done a really good job. And I just don't think Josh Reynolds mixed in with the health of Josh Reynolds, it just didn't pan out. But I just ultimately, guys, I just don't think it was a fit.
Yeah. And quick correction. This is our Byard thing. Nick Westbrook Akine. We had him on, and he said he panicked when he told the media when they asked what the pronunciation of his name was, and he said Akina at the time. Really quick, flustered. He was a rookie at the time. We got to give him a break.
So it's not now he's saying it's Akine?
Akine.
Yeah,
Akine.
we went through.
What is going
He got on. He got on to Austin.
Kayla, we went through our entire interview with him. Our entire interview. It was probably like, we probably had him for like 25, 30 minutes. And I'm not joking you when I say this. The very last question I asked him, he corrected me. He's like, by the way, it's Akine. And I'm like, dude, you let me go through this entire interview. But you know what? But that also became, and you working in TV news, like, how important this is. That became a scoop. We got our first scoop that the Tighten Up podcast was breaking news. It's Nick Westbrook Akine. Now, granted, no one picked up on that.
Yeah, Mike Keith even still calls him Akina.
Yeah, so it's like now people are we're still spreading the word, but just know that credit Tighten Up Pod for breaking that news. That is,
and I am gonna. So when I talk to him next week, if he's available, because when he came on my 2-minute drill last year during the pandemic, I started the interview. I am a stickler about names, and I started the interview and said, "How do you pronounce your last name?" And because it used to be just Nick Westbrook, and he added that in his senior year, I believe, at Indiana.
Right.
And he said Akina at the time. And so now that it's Akine, this is new. This is news to me. So I will credit you guys, and I will just say, say it in front of all of us media. Is it Akine? And then hopefully we'll get this solved.
Hey, let him know where it came from.
I will.
If for whatever reason he goes back to rookie mode and he's like, it's Akine, or whatever.
Like, nope, that's not what I heard.
You say, then that's when you ask, as a journalist, you ask the tough follow-up question, and you say, oh, really? Because we have records that indicate that you said Akine on the Tighten Up podcast.
I will.
Okay. All right. Good.
I will definitely do that. That is my journalistic duty for the week.
Thank you so much, Kayla. Last question from me. So I heard a story about you. The night before,
just one?
the night before, arguably the worst Titans game in recent history, Denver, when Mariota was benched. Apparently, did you do karaoke that night, and did you maybe put a curse on Mariota?
Well, now I don't know about the curse on now you're going to have me not saying his name.
Talk about names.
I don't know if I put a curse on him, although I was at that championship game when Ohio State beat Oregon, because I was covering the Buckeyes in my first year in Columbus. Now that I'm thinking back on it, I could have perhaps put a curse on. I perhaps could have.
What was the song that you sang?
I don't know if you guys know this song. It's a very good soulful karaoke song. It's called Black Velvet.
Okay. So that's where I wanted to go with this, because that's perfect. Yeah. So in Black Velvet, there are lyrics. It says, "In a flash, he was gone. It happened so soon. What could you do?" That's why I ask, were you the reason why Mariota never really took a meaningful snap as Titans quarterback after he was benched in that game in Denver?
You know what?
Good question,
you bring this up, and that is really great investigative journalism right there.
It's hard hitting.
And you know what? I can't confirm or deny that I sang that song for that reason. No, I'm just joking. I love him. I hope he does. I just hope he does so well in the future. I really do like him. Sure. But you know what? Now that I'm thinking about it, those lyrics, that could have meant something.
Accidental voodoo. It happens all the time.
Right?
Yeah. You couldn't have sang "We Are the Champions" by Queen or anything like that.
I know. I just had to pick. That's my go-to though. That's the only one I feel comfortable really belting it out and sounding somewhat decent.
Also, respect to you, Kayla, for being one of those people at karaoke who sings the song that and like the best, rather than the one that will get the crowd going.
Miss Jackson, Outcast, yeah.
Right. There were a lot of people in the crowd being like, "What? Do you know this song? What is this song?" And then whispering and like, whereas like if you played like a hit everyone knows, then everyone's like, oh,
Exactly.
but
That's a lot easier.
well, and I'll say, because then everyone starts singing with you and you're like,
Yes.
look, this is my turn on stage. I don't want everyone else singing with me. This is karaoke. I'm the karaoke.
This is my moment.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I felt like that's, as a kid, as a 3-year-old, I was dancing at the age of 3, and I was the only one on that stage that ever knew the dance moves. And all the other little girls around me looked like they had no clue what was going on. So it's kind of been natural. I like that spotlight once in a while, not all the time. But when I'm up on that karaoke stage, like, I want to make sure I'm shining in that moment.
Right. Well, Kayla, our hard-hitting investigative journalism doesn't stop there. I got to ask you on your way out the door, which again, thank you for joining us. We appreciate you taking the time. This has been a lot of fun. Probably my 3 favorite websites in no particular order: A to Z sportsnashville.com, corkedbats.com, and KaylaAndersonTV.com.
A good 3.
It's a great
That's
3.
good.
It's a great 3. Phenomenal blogs on all 3, if I do say so myself.
I
Now,
appreciate that.
Almost 3 years to the day, you posted a blog with the headline "Dry Skin Fixes
Yes.
Favorite Products for Winter Months."
Yes.
Now, very relevant right now.
And you might kind of see where I'm going with this, Kayla, but as someone who you do have phenomenal skin, I will give you credit there. I think it would best both Jack and I and our entire Tighten Up podcast listenership, the Tuppers. I think it would best us all to know, what are your favorite products for the upcoming winter months when it comes to skincare?
Well, and those ones are really the ones that I'm using today. However, me being a skin guru, because it's very important for women of like the 30s, because I won't say my exact age, but I will say that I'm not 20 anymore. We want to have good skin, and we don't want to wear a whole bunch of makeup. At least I don't. I'm not all about that.
Well, no, Jack and I are the same way. So it's
right. You guys don't need a lot of that either, So I would say a heavy cream to go to bed. If you have a nice heavy cream with no scents in it, just kind of like that nice, like natural smelling cream, just lather yourself up in it.
Okay.
And then my favorite thing that you guys should get a little travel carry on is called Evian water. And it's just like a little spritzer. So every time you feel like your face is getting dry, you just pull it out of your back pocket, spritz it all over, and you just glow. You're glowing.
Like throughout the day.
That's what I bring mine in my purse. Yeah, throughout the day.
Right before you go on, maybe just a little.
Yeah, just like
We'll do that for our next podcast.
Yeah, right.
I want to see that bottle on the deck. I want to see you guys just in the middle of the podcast.
Yeah. We like post our podcast to YouTube now, so it might be good. It might help our subscriber count.
You could get a deal out of it. You never know.
You never know.
You're thinking.
Is it like perfume where it's like I spritz and then walk into it?
No. It's like you just seriously hold it right here, go like this, and it's like a water spritzer. But it's special water. It's spring water, guys. It's special water. So.
And then when you said the cream, lather your face in cream, does it matter what kind of cream? Can I do like whipped cream?
Krispy Kreme?
I'm gonna have to say no on that, guys. That might cause breakouts. I would say keep it like a CeraVe or one of those, natural kind of skin lotions.
All right. Well, look, this is why we're asking you.
I know. I'm giving you straight facts. That's what I'm all about.
And we honestly appreciate. Like your Titans insight is phenomenal, and it's literally some of the best. But like, low key, this is one of the main reasons we brought you.
This is why we wanted you, Kayla.
Yeah, Jack and I we're too scared to admit.
I thought that might be the real reason. I really did.
Like when we have like Jim Wyatt on, not great with the skincare regimen. So it's like he's no care anymore.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Jim Wyatt is good for what kind of pencils that you should buy?
Hawaiian shirts.
Hawaiian shirts.
And visors, maybe, if you like Vanderbilt especially, or the Dodgers.
Exactly. Yeah. That is I love Jimmy. Shout out to Jimmy. Love that guy.
Kayla, you are absolutely way too much fun. Thank you for taking the time to join us. Guys, give her a follow at Kayla Anderson TV. That's Kayla with a K.
Yes.
Anderson as it's spelled, TV as it's spelled as well. Give her a follow for more skincare regimes. Go to KaylaAndersonTV.com. Kayla, you are the absolute best. Thank you so much for the time for joining us today.
Hey guys, thanks so much. And what a fun time. I'll come back anytime. I love having fun.
Yes.
Awesome. That's what we wanted. There we go.
You shouldn't have said that because we will probably call you next week.
See you next week, Kayla.
Yeah.
Thanks so much.
Bye, guys.